Chapter 13. The Search Party. Pips and Sandy flew through the moonlit forest beside the Beetle Boys. Pips was glad of their company, but he wished they weren't quite so rowdy. Knot had let Wilkea ride on the back of his beetle, so he had been able to join in the search too. At Eagle's Corner, they took the left bank of the gully, then flew past a labyrinth of rocky caves high above Stony Creek. Pips and Sandy knew this area well. They often played here. It was one of the longest and clearest free falls in the forest and perfect for skydiving. It was also where the Beetle Boys lived. Pips hoped that Stump wasn't going to recruit any more of his gang, but tonight most of their caves were empty, and with the exception of a few lone sleeping beetles, all was quiet. "Have you ever flown to the end of the forest before?" Pip shouted to Stump over the roar of his staghorn beetle.
"Nah, we stick to what we know. Except for a blast into FernGully every now and again, we hang out round here. This is our territory."
"It doesn't smell too good,"
said Sandy, holding his nose. "That's because everyone's scared of water around here," said Pips. "Stump makes sure it never rains in Stony Creek."
"Go on with ya,"
bellowed Stump.
"We got water. What do you think we drink with our beetle juice?"
He pulled a moldy container out of his filthy snakeskin boot and shoved it under Pip's nose.
"Wanna try some?"
Pip shuddered. "No way! I don't touch that stuff."
"Helps you see in the dark,"
roared Stump, guzzling from the container, then speeding off ahead of them. They crossed the creek at Lyrebird Lookout, where Crysta often came to sing with the birds, but tonight there was no sign of her. Next, Pips led them through the Valley of Echoes. "This is great," said Sandy, clapping his hands and listening for the echo. "We should play out here. It would give our music a different buzz."
"Yep, and wake up the whole valley,"
said Wilkea, laughing. Pips remembered the last time he and Crysta had flown out here. They'd been caught in a heavy rainstorm and had found shelter in the roots of a tree, which turned out to be the home of a family of marsupial mice. The mice invited them to dinner, and they stayed in their warm burrow until the storm had passed. Pips checked out the burrow, but now it was empty. They kept flying, but when there was still no sign of Crysta at Fallen Tree Gap, Pips began to feel really worried. This was as far as any of them had ever come.
"Could she be at the Blue Grotto?"
Sandy asked. "No way," said Pips. Then, relaxing a little, he grinned. "I asked her to go there with me the other day, and she really got into a flap. Let's try Possum Wood. Baby Possum seemed to be the love of her life at the moment." They changed course and flew low over the forest floor, weaving and twisting around the trees. The moon was no longer overhead, and the forest was dark. "Things don't seem right," Pip said to Sandy. "I've got a bad feeling about all this. She's never stayed away from home this long before." Sandy told him not to worry. They all knew Crysta could look after herself better than most, but the Beetle Boys couldn't resist teasing Pips.
"Bet you got eaten by a falcon,"
said Bark.
"Or a goanna,"
said Twigs, giggling. Eventually, Stump decided he was hungry and wanted to rest. Wilkea was only too happy to get off Knot's beetle and stretch his legs. But when they parked, they were surprised to see that all the foliage in the area was dead.
"No chance of a feed around here,"
grumbled Stump. "What could have caused it, Will?" asked Sandy. "Don't know," Wilkea replied, shaking his head.
"But I certainly hope we don't meet up with whatever it was."
Look over here.
shouted Not.
This old dragon has taken a nosedive.
Pips looked at the stiff body of the angle-headed dragon and was shocked to see that it was Drag's. I know this little dragon. He's a friend of Crysta's.
There's more bods over here.
Grunted Stump, poking to a gecko, a land mullet, and a skink lying dead against a blackened tree trunk.
Let's get out of here.
Whimpered Bark, kick-starting his beetle. But Drax was still breathing. But Pips refused to leave until they've helped him. He found a copper-colored brush-tail possum who happily agreed to help them lift Drax up into his tree.
There's a hollow in the trunk up here, fixed up with leaves. It will be comfortable,
said the possum.
I'll keep an eye on him. He can't stay down on the ground. There's a black mist swirling around that kills everything it touches.
So we noticed,
said Stump. With the possum's help, they pulled Drax up the tree and laid him in the hollow. I wish Crysta was here, said Pips. She'd know what to do for him. I'll stay, said Wilkea. I watched how Crysta healed the bat. I can look after him. Then I'll stay too, volunteered Sandy. I can fetch water from the creek. Pips, you keep looking for Crysta. Don't worry about us. We'll get back in the morning. It won't be long before first light, said Pips. I only hope Crysta and the bat have survived better than Drags. Leaving Wilkea and Sandy to nurse the little dragon, Pips and the Beetle Boys flew off.
We're looking.
We're looking.
What are we looking for?
this is a waste of time.
Grumbled Bark,
Yeah, she probably found another boyfriend.
sneered Twigs. Pips ignored their remarks and called out Crysta's name over and over again.
Crysta!
As the first light of morning appeared, they found the creek and followed it upstream. Pips was surprised to see little rainbows glistening on the water. It looked as though someone had shredded a rainbow and scattered it about. But he didn't have time to think about it because Twigs discovered something even more unusual. A shiny, flat yellow object was floating downstream towards them. They all skidded to a halt above it.
Oh, is that what we're looking for?
None of them had ever seen anything like it before. It looked like a flat piece of wood, only it wasn't the color of wood, and it had perfectly symmetrical edges. Pips cautiously reached down and touched its shiny surface. Whatever it is, it's dead, he whispered. We've got to get this back to FernGully. This could have something to do with Crysta's disappearance. Stump ordered Bark and Twigs to help him find a way to haul it back to FernGully. He ordered Knot to keep searching for Crysta with Pips.
And you never know,
He sniffed.
if you keeps your eyes open, you might find some other good stuff floating around.
Crysta! Crysta!